Really, the doctrine of justification by faith alone is not that difficult to grasp with the mind. But to get that into the bloodstream seems at times almost impossible. But Luther's warning was this. He said, any time that the gospel is preached boldly and clearly, there will be conflict. And because people are frightened by conflict, the natural human tendency will be to be less than clear and certainly less than bold in the proclamation of that gospel in order to avoid the conflict that always comes in its wake. I personally believe that there's been no time since the Reformation where the gospel has been under siege as severely as it is today. I never thought that I would see the gospel of justification by faith alone being a matter of dispute among professing evangelicals. But even as I speak, many professing evangelicals would be rather better described as ickles rather than evangelicals. Just saying simply ickles. Because the evangel has been so radically negotiated. And I certainly never thought that I would live to see the doctrine of justification by faith alone disputed within the Reformed community, as it is today with the new perspective of Paul, as well as other movements that are departing from the classical doctrine with the central importance of imputation. It was Luther who said that the doctrine of justification by faith alone is the article upon which the church stands or falls. And it was by that conviction that he was convinced that when Rome condemned Sola Fide at Trent in the middle of the 16th century, that she fell and ceased from being a church anymore. As Dr. Horton has already indicated, Calvin used a different metaphor. He said, Sola Fide is the hinge upon which everything turns. Early Packer used still a third metaphor when he said justification by faith alone is the atlas of the Christian faith. And if Atlas were to shrug and the doctrine fell to the ground, the whole of Christian doctrine would fall with it. Now, these statements about the importance of Sola Fide may seem to sound like hyperbole to you, but I can't imagine any way possible to overstate the importance of this doctrine to the gospel and to the whole of the Christian life. My favorite way of trying to get people to see what is at stake in the doctrine of justification by faith is to get us to see it against the backdrop of the theology of justification that emerged in the Middle Ages and was set in concrete again in the middle of the 16th century at the sixth session of the Council of Trent. And so what I want to do is to spend some time reviewing the Roman concept of justification and why it provoked the controversy that was the most severe controversy in the history of Christendom. Before I do that, let me say that zealous Protestants and evangelicals, in their attempts to promote the doctrine of justification by faith alone, often slander the Roman Catholic communion by presenting a distorted caricature of what Rome believes and what Rome teaches, what it taught then and what it teaches now. Usually the distortion goes something like this, that we as Protestants believe in justification by faith, and Rome believes in justification by works. Or they'll say, we believe in justification by grace, and Rome believes in justification by merit. Or we say we believe in justification by Christ, whereas Roman believes in justification by the church. Now that is a serious distortion of what Rome believes for this reason. Rome then and Rome now has consistently taught that faith is necessary for justification, and that grace is necessary for justification, and that Christ is necessary for justification. But what Rome chokes on is the word alone. Again, before the canons of the Sixth Session of Trent condemned various distortions that they believed were present, not only in Protestantism, but in earlier Pelagianism, Rome set forth her own view. And she said therein that faith serves three things in justification. It is the initium, the fundamentum, and the rhodex of justification. That is, faith initiates it. It is the foundation of it. And it is the very root of justification. So Rome certainly does not dismiss the importance of faith. But at the same time, in that same session, they indicated that a person could have saving faith, true faith, and not be justified. Because although faith was a necessary condition for justification, it was not seen as a sufficient condition for justification. And so Rome begins the journey of the soul's progress towards justification with the sacrament of baptism. And Rome teaches that baptism is the instrumental cause of justification. That language, of course, is borrowed from Aristotle's distinction among several types of causes: sufficient causes, sufficient causes, formal causes, final causes. But in this case, instrumental causes. When he used the example of a sculptor making a beautiful statue, the material cause was the stone and so on. But the instrumental cause, the means by which that shapeless stone was transformed into a magnificent statue, were through the instruments of the hammer and the chisel. It's the means by which a desired effect is brought to pass.